So Gary, away with you. Let's go. What's the first question?
Yeah, so first question is from Jenny, who asks, what advice would you give to a newly qualified personal trainer who would like to start online coaching too? So this is obviously something that is increasingly on the radar of many personal trainers, particularly during the coronavirus pandemic. I imagine many trainers had to rethink their businesses and start to think, right, how am I going to move things online? It definitely makes a lot of sense for damage control in the future too, because like there's a non-zero probability that there could be either further lockdowns or other novel viruses that could lead to pandemics in the future. And therefore, you can see that there's some sort of fragility with only having one element to your business. So it would make sense from a business perspective to at least have some sort of online element. Now, with that said, when you're early on in your personal training career, this definitely depends on your background pre-personal training, but assuming a blank canvas, I do think it's really important that people do get experience on the gym floor. That experience isn't as important for everyone because some people, maybe they might have previously worked in physiotherapy or as like a fitness class instructor or yoga instructor, where they're more used to working with people. But for many people, I think the soft skills of, communication and queuing clients, being able to spot maybe technical errors that need correction, etc. All those types of things are gained through experience on the gym floor. And while you can replicate that to some degree through video analysis online, etc., it's definitely good to get that experience. So that would be my first piece of advice, I guess, is don't rush into it too soon and recognize that there is a lot of value to working on the gym floor first. But it's definitely valuable to work online. And I think that it's increasingly possible to do that really well. It's very easy to put together high quality documentation that provides your clients with education using different software, like whether it's just Microsoft Word or you want to use something more elaborate like Canva, Lucidchart, etc. All these things are out there to make the delivery of information really easy and really well presented. And you've also got so much software that could be used and just basic social communication mechanisms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook groups, email, etc., that can allow you to communicate with your client through voice messages, through video. You've got Zoom where you can do your consultations. You've got, WhatsApp where you can analyze training videos, Google Drive where they can upload their training videos, etc., etc., etc. What I'm getting at is that online coaching is no longer maybe what it was 10 years ago, where email was basically all people might have thought about. You get your macros and, you get your program and that's kind of it. You check in with your coach once a week. There's so many other options to improve the quality of your service. And I think getting good at that is something that is very valuable. So I guess my point there is it's worth doing, but I haven't necessarily told you exactly what advice I would give you there yet. But before I move on, have you got anything to interject there with Paddy?
Well, just especially on just what you just said there, just what you said there. I would just get a coach, right? Because this is probably going to like fast forward all of the things that you just said there in terms of like you are selling a product. If you've never got coaching, you are selling a product that you have never consumed. Like you don't know what that product is. You don't even know how good it is, how bad it is, because you have absolutely no frame of reference because you have never bought that product yourself. So I would just go out and get coaching from someone else in terms of online coaching that you're like, I actually respect this person. I actually think they'd be able to help me towards my goals. And again, they might not be your client's goals, but at least you can see how someone hopefully successful runs their business, what they do, how do they do an onboarding process, how do they do, like what forms do they use, what software do they use, etc., etc. It literally just jumps you light years ahead of the pack because you can see what you like and what you don't like, and then you can kind of make your own process and your own service based off that and what you have, you're thinking overall. But I do also agree with you in terms of thinking like get some gym floor experience first and foremost. It's actually the most valuable thing you can get in a world where people just jump online straight away. And you do see people like you very rarely see people that are successful that only ever did online, whereas people who did in person and then moved online they seem to have more success, and success leaves clues. So let's actually listen to those clues.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in terms of advice, then, yeah, I would agree. Get a coach. Not only will you learn from someone who's been in the game as to like what a good service looks like, but you'll also learn maybe what doesn't work for you, because you might identify, even if you work with, Triage, you might work with us and see that I actually don't like the way they do that. I feel like that for my clients, I'd like to do things this way. That's something that's really valuable too. And even just speaking to other trainers, asking them how they run their service. Obviously, be respectful of people's time. One of the things that a lot of trainers be more than happy to do for you is just you book an hour of their time to do a consultation, get on Zoom with someone who you feel runs a good online coaching service, and then ask them to just walk you through how they run their service. And you'll learn things, take what you feel is appropriate, and then add your own spin on it. There's not that much that's original, really. Ultimately, the online coaching process is pretty simple in theory, in that you're providing someone with a program, you're providing them with nutrition guidelines, you're implementing methods of accountability and support, and you're making changes from there as you go forward. The nuances of that are how you communicate well, how you monitor your programs when you make changes, how you analyze the person's videos, etc. And they're the things that you learn along the way. But to start off, I think if you can book a consultation with a good trainer who's run online coaching successfully for a number of years, I think that's a pretty good way of getting started.
100%. And I'd just like to finally say on that it is actually so much easier to make more money in person than it is to make money online, right? And just let that sink in, because everyone always thinks that going online is the way to 6 figures, 7 figures, it's so scalable, blah, blah, blah. But you are going from a local, maybe there's 100, 200, 500, I don't know how many people around your area, right? You're going from that environment to billions. Everyone's online, right? So you were competing against just the local people versus competing against the billions of people that are online now, So it's actually easier in person to build a following, to build a name for yourself. Like, all you have to do is get 1 or 2 clients and then get word of mouth from there. You also, especially in this day and age where people still have not the wherewithal to actually just get like basic online presence things sorted. Like, you can have like a Google like kind of storefront, like a Google like address and everything, where it's like someone just Googles personal training in whatever area you're in, like your name should be at the top there, like stuff like that. Like, there's so many very basic things that you can do that are technically online that help with an in-person business that most personal trainers just simply do not do, right? So what I'm saying is, don't just jump online if you think that's the way to riches or whatever. It might suit your lifestyle, it might whatever. But in person is definitely an easier business model to make more money in a faster way once you've kind of built that name for yourself. Now, obviously, the issue with that is you are kind of confined to the local area and however many people are in your local area. Like, you might be in an area where there's 100 people, like you're not going to make a lot of money there. And you might be in a lower socioeconomic status area, and like you might want to charge €70 per hour for your service or whatever, but the people that are around you are only willing to spend €20 per hour for that service, So you are a little bit at the whim of your location there. And then obviously it makes more sense to, push the online stuff. But for most people in this day and age, in the kind of developed world, will say, it's probably easier just to, do stuff locally.
Yeah, and I think just one final thing there is, like, you made the point that it's easier to make more money, and I think people actually often think it's the other way around, but that's just because of total sampling bias, where all you see when you go online and you follow different trainers with online coaching businesses are the ones who are super successful. Okay, so there's an element of you just looking at all those people who have all these clients and tens of thousands of followers. But what you're not actually looking at are all the trainers that are like, yeah, I have 3 online clients, I have 5 some months, but I'm really struggling to get traction and I don't seem to be getting more followers, and so on and so on. And sometimes that's just the result of unfortunate circumstances where you might have just gotten into the market at a very late stage and you actually don't have much that's unique, and that doesn't mean that you're not better than some of those other trainers, but they got there quicker. And sometimes it can be difficult to make up that ground. So there's definitely like a larger spread of like from the highly successful down to those that are really struggling in the online world. Whereas in the real world, like one-to-one personal training context, if you're working in an established facility, it's probably a bit more like reliable. So if you're looking for like a reliable source of income that's going to gradually grow over time and your reputation is going to maintain or be more solid over time, I think the one-to-one in person is a really good base to build. So
especially if you're working in a gym or something, like literally all you have to do is get good results and talk to people, like people are walking in the door anyway. So it's like shooting fish in a barrel effectively, because they're coming to you, right? Whereas online,
and you know what they want because
exactly,
they're in the gym.
they're literally in the gym, like they're coming to you. Whereas online, people are following you for various reasons, being like, oh yeah, I like his attitude towards this. Like I doubt all 15,000 followers or however many followers you have, Gary, like are like, oh yeah, I only follow Gary for the fact that he's a personal trainer. Like definitely not. So it is a bit harder in the online game. But anyway, let's get to the next question.